Hello, welcome to RTV. This is the fourth lesson about the program within the program of teaching English to the sheep. Now, friends, children and parents, youth, it is important to learn, as we have done about the need for English, how our animal economy started, how herding started, gradually how our systems, our civilization has come to gain control on agriculture. In our villages today, even around the cities, if we are getting food, if we are getting grain, if we are getting fruits, if we are getting vegetables, and if we are getting meat, all are because of agrarian economy, agrarian system. And the people who worked for it developed the agricultural system over a period of time in human history. Over a period of centuries, people have come to acquire grip over agriculture and tilling the land. Now, tilling of the land is not an ordinary task. First of all, human beings have to understand which soil, under what circumstances, it can produce crop. It can give rise to crop with a given, humidity levels, with a given water resource, with a given other facilities available for producing food. But more importantly, human being required two things to develop what we call tilling of the land. One, human being had to train animals. And mostly in India, we used either he buffaloes in the beginning, or over a period of time, as the cow and bull economy has grown, we used the bull power as the main plow driving power. Now, you should know now what is actually a plow, how it could be made, what are the instruments that we use for making a plow, what kind of wood it requires, what kind of metals it requires, what kind of ropes it requires to be completely operative. Now, who were the people who need to work around these instrument making? Now, I will take up two important components of this. One, training animals to properly, systemically pull the plow in tilling of the land. This requires lot of animal psychology study, and at a particular age, mostly in India, they were training male animals for pulling the plow. Now, to train an animal to be properly working along with human cooperation required minimum a 1 year training for the animal. Now, its psychology has to be studied, its processes has to be carefully handled, and mostly the villagers, uh, those who are known as today the Dalits, the backward classes, and the farming communities involved in animal training. Animal training is one aspect, but the second aspect is making of the plow. Plow in the historical course was made with wood. Now, who were doing this? The small group of carpenters who specialized in plow making engineering process. They studied carefully the nature and character and the viability of the wood that they were trying to make a plow out of it. Now, these carpenters were our earliest engineers in the village. Now, engineering knowledge was the key for working out the iron instruments and also the wooden instruments, particularly to make agrarian tools. Because in those days, in the early economic processes, human beings were not very much concerned about how to build a very good house, how to make tables, how to make chairs. It was not that what their priority was. Their priority was how to make agricultural tools that improve our food basket, food resource. So in this improvement, the key was tilling the land. Now, the farmer at one end trained the animals how to drag the plow, how to walk along with the whole tilling process, how a man was holding the plow, a woman was sowing the seed behind, and gradually the distance between each seed has to be calculated. Now that depends what would be the furrow depth, how much space should be given between one furrow and another furrow when you till the land. This has to be studied by the farmer carefully, because all seeds do not become plants with the same depth of the furrow or in the same kind of the water resource levels that one requires. So, for example, the millets required very little water resource and a particular kind of furrow to grow as a plant in a week or 10 days. Whereas paddy required a different kind. Now, this study was a huge systemic study by a farmer. Unfortunately, we have not written lessons or books around the farmer techniques or scientific processes that they worked around producing food in India. Other countries have done. So what they did was very interesting. When the early rains come, they guess how much rain has fallen. So if the rain is enough to really start plowing the land, and then which land can give which crop better. So you have all kinds of varieties of grain that they develop to produce from the soil. Now what is agriculture? Agriculture is a work that produces 10, 20, 30 grains out of one grain. Or if the crop is better, out of one grain, they produce 50 grains. Now imagine the importance of this. From one grain, you grow a plant having sown into the land, and the farmer needs to give it required water, required fertilization, required environment, and they have to protect the plant as it is growing and also after it grows. Now in that situation, one grain that becomes a plant over a period of time as it matures can produce 10 grains, 20 grains, 30 grains, 50 grain on one plant. Now sometimes 100 also. Now sometimes 1,000. So some plants do that. That's how human survival became easy, because you are seeding one grain and giving rise to a plant, and that plant grows within a certain period of time, and then it gets harvested. Now what the carpenter does here, and there is another engineering work that is involved. Whenever you need iron related instruments for agricultural purpose, iron smiths were very important. These iron smiths were highly skilled people. In the villages, in the towns, there were two kinds of very sophisticated engineers. One kind was ironsmithing. The another kind was goldsmithing. That the ironsmith was making instruments of agrarian production, household instruments of iron. Even to build a house, they needed iron rods, iron blades, iron other kind of things. For example, to cut a crop, they needed a sickle. Or even to hit something, they needed a hammer. So who makes them? The ironsmith. So both in the combination of farmer, carpenter, ironsmith, the agricultural operations take a shape. But added to this, there is a need for rope makers. You know who were the greatest rope makers in India? The greatest rope makers were Dalits. They were making with two kinds of ropes. One, only Dalits were making leather ropes. And leather ropes were supposed to be stronger than other jute or something else kind of ropes or cotton. So only Dalit skill operators. They were also engineers, what they were called leather engineering technology. So leather industry, leather engineering technology was central to agricultural production and tilling of the land. In my childhood, the Dalit communities used to take out dead animals and skin them off and convert the skin into leather. And out of the leather, they were making leather ropes for agrarian needs. And without leather ropes, tilling of the odd soil, the way you bind the cattle and the plow together to keep pulling for tilling the soil would have been impossible. So there is a combination of people. Now within this combination, you need another engineering skill that comes into agriculture. That is pot making. And other basket making. Pot making and basket making was again key for not only cooking the food but also preserving the grain. So the pot makers had to study the soil process. Which soil can turn into a pot? So all this was a compendium of agrarian production. Now, in this, tilling the land is the central thing, because without tilling the land, agricultural expansion of grain and production of surplus grain, more than what the village can eat and then go and sell outside, would not have been possible. So, in this whole history of tilling, now this very process also evolved its own gods and goddesses. There are two important god-goddess images in Indian villages. One in Telugu area called Potaraj, which is basically a crop-related god. The other one is Katta Maisamma. So the Potaraju is known as a protector of crop. Once the farmer tills the land and seeds it, and then the crop grows, but it needs to be protected from thieves, animals, birds, and so on. So they used to use a symbol, a divine symbol or image called Potaraj. Now they used to put a statue kind of a thing and color it in a manner that birds are afraid of him. Animals think that there is a human being in the crop, so they don't go that side. And sometimes in the night, even if a thief was trying to steal something from the crop, the thief thinks that there is somebody standing there. So they make that image in that way. And who is Kattamaisama? Urban people, even our colleges, universities, schools, don't teach about this goddess. This goddess has become goddess because she was the first woman to build tank bunds. She was the first woman at the time of Harappan civilization, that is 5,000 years back. She understood how to store water, rainwater, by building a tank. Now, she, in the whole of country, in different names, became water storing goddess called Katta. Katta is bund. So, her name is Maisamma. So, people worship her, people give her offerings, people give her both meat and vegetable or rice or other grains, whatever they have. So, this whole production of crop and building agricultural economy is the second step after our animal economy. So, today I will stop with this. On this lesson, our fifth lesson would be on how to cut crops, how to harvest, how people preserved grain, what kind of technologies they used, how did they transport. Thank you very much.